Hi everybody, welcome back. In this video I just want to go through a little optional step that some of you might want to do, some of you may not want to bother with. In the last video, or the last few videos, what we've done is created bump maps for the can and also bump map for the bottle as well. And you can see that those two images just here. Now what we can do is actually take these bump maps one step further and create what's called a normal map. Now a normal map, it sort of gives you a similar result to a bump map, but it's a little bit more, it's just a little bit more advanced. So what I want to do is show you a way that you can produce a normal map in Photoshop. Now in order to do this, you need Photoshop, and you will also need to be on a PC. This plugin is not available for the Mac platform, and that's been the case for many years. I don't know whether or not they're actually developing one of these plugins for the Mac platform. I've got a feeling that they're not bothering, because this PC plugin has been available for probably close on 10 years now, and not once have they ever bothered producing a Mac version of it. So if you're on a Mac, really, you know, you can watch through this video and kind of see sort of what the process is, but you won't actually be able to do this yourself. Now, as I said before, this is purely optional. You don't need to do this. This is sort of just like an extra, it's sort of like a replacement for the bump maps we've already made. All right, so we can use the bump maps or we can use a normal map. So let's take a look first of all at where to get the plugin. What I've done is just jumped into Google and typed in NVIDIA normal map. So yes, this is NVIDIA that makes graphics cards for your computer. They have some developer tools on their website. So what we're going to do is download one of them. So NVIDIA normal map is what you want to type in, and the result should give you basically this link as the first search result. So basically, it's the URL is just there, or at least the link is developer.nvidia.com. Texture Tools Adobe Photoshop. So we'll just go onto there, and you'll see the download link. Okay, so basically you've got two options. You've got 32-bit and you've got 64-bit. So if you're running a 32-bit system, obviously get the 32-bit version. If you're getting the if you're running a 64-bit version, then download that. That should match with the other software on your computer. So for example, you'll either be running 64-bit Maya or 32-bit Maya. So if you're unsure of that, what you can do is if you jump over to Maya and have a look at the top here, it'll tell you which version that you have installed. So if 64-bit Maya is working on your computer, it's safe to say your computer is 64-bit, and your Photoshop would be as well. So you can just download that one. Okay, so it'll download a file basically, and all you do is it's an executable application file for the installer, and all you do is double click it and just install it. This version I've just installed myself, and it now installs the plugin directly into your Photoshop installation directory. Older versions, you had to basically manually copy them into the correct folder in your Photoshop directory. So they've kind of automated it now. So basically all you do is you get that installed. Then when you start Photoshop up, let's jump across to Photoshop. When you get Photoshop started up after installing, if you go to the filter menu just here, you'll see an NVIDIA Tools option down here. And that basically is the where the tool is stored. Okay, so let's jump in and create a normal map. So basically the way that this works is it's going to register the dark and light versions, or the dark and light values I should say, on your bump map. Okay, now in order for this to work, we have to actually flatten the entire bump map down to a single layer. So at the moment my bump map is set up in this folder group and you can see it's made out of all these different layers. All right. What I'm going to do basically is turn off everything except for that group, and you can see that nothing changed over here. All right. So I've got this background layer visible. Everything else is switched off, but nothing changes. So that means all of my bump layers are inside this group, which is exactly what I want. If you find when you turn things off outside the group, if things are disappearing, like the text or any of the shapes, it means that that layer actually should be in this folder. Alright, so when you've got your entire bump map in this folder group, what you need to do is duplicate that group. So I'm just going to drag this onto the new page button at the bottom, or the new layer button I should say, and that'll copy it. I then turn off the original one. So what I've done is just duplicated. So if something messes up, I've always got this original group I can go back to. Alright. Now in a second this layer is going to become a normal map. So I still want to keep my bump map, alright, but I'll have a bump and a normal. Alright, so the next thing we need to do is flatten this layer down, or this group. Okay, so it all has to be, all of this has to get squashed in the one layer. So what we do is we just come up to the little menu here and we select flatten or merge group. Okay, Control or Command E, and that will flatten it out. So that's all one picture now, like that. So then what we do is we come up to Filter, NVIDIA Tools, Normal Map Filter, and you get this panel. So down here you've got a little preview window, and note that you can't rescale or resize this. All right. Basically, this is the size of the preview. So we have essentially a big range of settings here, and most of these settings really there's no particular instructions for this plugin per se, and you'll probably find very little difference with the settings that you set up. You won't notice any difference between some of these settings. So generally speaking, what you can do is just have add height to normal map ticked. You can set a filter type. What I'm doing here is just kind of setting it back to default. Normally by default this is on 4 samples. This normally is not switched on at all. I'm not sure how they manage to do that, because normally with these one of them has to be active. You can use biased RGB, that's okay. Height source, you can leave that at average RGB, just here. Alpha field unchanged, okay. Those are normally the settings that you have, and I think it's normally set, the scale is, I think, set to 2. Oops, now I didn't want to do that. Let me just undo and jump back into that filter. Alright, so I think those are normally the settings. Alright, now up in here there's a little preview, and it's really difficult to see what's going on in here. There's actually a 3D version, a 3D view. Now I'm going to attempt to turn this on. I'm going to turn off Animate Light. I'm going to attempt to turn this on and see whether or not it'll actually show up properly. I'm hoping my system doesn't crash. So to turn it on, we just press this little button here. Oh, sorry, actually no, we press the 3D preview. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I want. Now you can click and drag this around, but you can see here at the moment it's not really showing anything up, and that's because over here our settings aren't set up in a way that we can really see much detail. Now it says up here press F1 for help, okay, and what that does is it gives you just some keyboard shortcuts. So you can see here move is middle mouse, and what that's doing is actually moving me forwards and backwards. Okay, rotate is, and that's sort of rotating the camera, not the object. That's the right mouse button. Turn is E and Q, like that. So that's almost the same as the right mouse button, just slower. Pitch is Z and X, so that's up and down. So that's right mouse button up and down. You know, so you kind of get the idea. Okay, but what we really want to see is the effect that this filter is having on the image. So basically, the main important setting that you want is this scale factor. Okay, now if you have positive numbers, it's going to make the normal map push into the object. So what we were talking about previously with the grayscale values, either pushing into the surface of the object or pulling out of the surface, where the bright colors pop out, with the default settings of this plugin, it's actually reversing that and pushing them in. So what we need to do is change this scale value. So if I type in like -10, okay, you can see over here we start to get this detail showing up, and I can kind of see it here on this preview. I mean, it's popping things up, but I mean, this preview is pathetic, quite frankly. There we go. So you can kind of see that starting to show up there. We're kind of seeing these please recycle and so on. It's not showing up anything else, which is kind of odd, but yeah. I mean, you can play around with that. You might be able to get it to work. I'm just going to turn it off because it's really not doing anything. So you can see here that we can see some detail down here. All right. So that sort of seems to be working okay. So when you're sort of happy with the amount of detail you're seeing, like if you type in, say, -20, it will exaggerate that even more. Now, I'd suggest probably not going too high with this. I certainly wouldn't go higher than 50. Okay, because that's going to be really, really overblown. I would probably stick somewhere around about, say, -10 to maybe -20, -25. I'll go to 20 and we'll see what happens. So basically with those settings as they are, keeping in mind that you adjust this number as you see fit, all right? But keep it a negative number, really. If you change it to positive, you can click this invert Y and that flips it. So it pops out instead of in, or in instead of out, all right? But with the colors that we've set up here, these grays, a minus number is what you want. So then you just press OK. And it converts that layer into a normal map, which has these purple values, as you see here. Okay, so what I might do is I'll just undo that, and I'll make a couple of duplicates of this. Okay, and we'll do some different values. So with the first one, I'll set the I'll just do another same setting for that. Actually, that was a little weird. Let's have a look here. What happened? So filter, NVIDIA tools, normal map. So all those settings are as they were. Yeah, there was a bit of a glitch there. Okay, so that's -20. All right, I'll do this next one, and I'll set it to maybe -10. And then this last one, what I'll do is set that to maybe +20. And then we'll have a look at the difference. Okay, so that's that's -20. That's -10, and you can kind of see how the images are flipped inside out. Okay. So basically, in this situation, the blue is the shaded area. Okay, the purple would be the highlight. So the light's sort of coming from this direction, from the left to the right. So you can see there, on the one that's flipped around the other way, the shadow's over here on this side. So what that's meaning is this is actually popping out, and these white text sections are popping into the surface. All right. So that's -10, and then this one's -20, and you can see there's a bit of a tonal difference. The -20 colors are a bit stronger. Okay. So that's basically what's increasing the depth. All right. So that's a normal map. Okay. So I would probably stick to maybe, like I said, about -10 through to maybe -20, 25, something like that, if you're doing normal map. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Okay, so I've got to actually clean this layer up drastically. So what have I got? I've got my, don't need that layer. And I've got my grip. got the grip and the label, the cap strip, and then I've got the main bottle and then the bottom. So basically I need those, and I need to group them, group layers, and that's my bump. And then I copy that layer and flatten that, so Control E. Okay, and then what I do is go up to Filter, NVIDIA Tools, Normal Maps, and I'll set that to -20. There we go. So that's my bump map for the bottle. Now you might want to be careful just up here in the top and the bottom of the cap. Okay, where we've got this little blue line and this little purple line at the bottom, if I turn my outline on, those purple and blue lines need to be outside the line for the template. Okay, you can see the purple line here is well below the white line for the template. Likewise at the top, the blue line is well outside. It's about 3 pixels outside the template. Now the reason for that is if this blue line was directly on the template or just inside the template line, and the one at the bottom, the purple one, was also the same, when we load this onto the model, we'll actually see a little cut or a groove on the seam. So having this kind of overlapping like this is going to get rid of that seam, hopefully. Okay, so those are our normal maps. That's how you generate a normal map. As I said, with a Mac, there isn't a plugin the same as this for the Mac platform. There are third-party software programs that you can get, or even third-party plugins that you can buy. But those little software packages or the Photoshop plugins for Mac, or that run on a Mac, there are no free versions of those. You have to buy them from the people that have created them. Whereas this NVIDIA one is just free to download. Okay, so you can do these on a Mac, but you probably have to buy a piece of software in order to do that. So I'm just going to save these two out. So I'm just going to go File, Save As, and I'll just select a Targa file. I'm in my source images folder once again, and I'm just going to change this master to normal, and I'm just going to copy that so I can paste it in for the next one. And just 24 bits is fine, and I'll do the same thing over here. So I'll just go File, Save As, and select Targa, and then just save that as a normal. So once again, this is optional. Okay, you don't have to do these for your project to work properly. I just wanted to show it to be a little bit more complete. Normal maps are widely used across industry, everything from film production through to game development. Okay, they're really widely used for game development because they allow your models to look a lot more realistic and a lot more detailed than, in particular, game consoles can handle. So really, we wouldn't have sort of the level of detail on any of our computer games today if we didn't have this normal map technology. So it really is sort of important to kind of, at the very least, sort of understand what a normal map is. So that's the normal map, basic normal map process. As you saw, there were a lot more options. Okay, but just to get a basic normal map working, that's how you do it. So in the next set of videos, we're going to actually start loading these pictures into Maya, and we're going to start making our objects look a little bit more complete with the materials phase of our production. So we'll see you then.